Author and speaker Jim Rohn said, "I now have one of the better libraries. I didn't read every single book that's in my library, but I just feel smart by walking into it." Hi, this is John Patrick Hickey, author, speaker, and founder of the Growth Center. I share that sympathy with Jim. I believe that I have probably one of the better libraries. I know for a fact. And this is, we don't think of these things all the time, but I think of this thing because I've studied the lives of people like Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and some of the great learners of our time, Henry David Thoreau, Emerson. And you know what? They all loved books, but they all were limited in the amount of books that they had. Some had very little. And you know, I know that I possess, either physically or on a Kindle, more books than Franklin ever even knew that there were. I have a massive library. What you see behind me is just a small part. This is the books that I keep here in my office because I use them in my research. I go to these books often and take notes from them, read them, get instruction, use them as reference material. Now, I can say I've read every book that's on these shelves because these are the books that I use all the time. But if you were at my home, you would see that we have shelf after shelf, whole walls full of books. Have I read them all? Nah, I haven't read them all. And a lot of times our books can vary, because where I like to read nonfiction books, that's my main area of interest. My wife loves fiction. So we have a good mix of both fiction and nonfiction. We have a lot of new books. We have a lot of very old historic books because we go to old bookstores. We like to collect books. And some of them can be first editions and they're a little older. We take very good care of them because they're special to us. But I like a book. I like to hold a book. I like to be around books. And like Jim Rohn said, I feel smart just being around them. What about your library? I believe every success-minded person has to have their own library. Now, I love public libraries. I believe that a good, making use of a good public library can be a wonderful tool in your research and your study. But I think that it is vital that you have your personal library. Matter of fact, I seldom borrow a book. Why? Because I write in books. I underline things, I make notes, I use them. And I've always said that if I have a book that's too good to write in, I'll just throw it out and find me another one. Because it is important for me in the studying that I do that I write and take notes in books. Now, when I buy a used book, and I've bought used books often, sometimes I will look for books that people wrote in because that tells me this book meant something to them. It wasn't just something they kept on a shelf and one day decided they'd give it to a used bookstore. It meant something to them. And I'll read the parts that they underline. I'll read their notes. So I can learn from the things that they learned from the very book that I have. You see, books are so important to our lives. Thomas Jefferson said, "I can't exist without books." And I believe that that's true. I don't know what I'd do without books. I encourage you, start a library if you don't already have one. And if you have one, it can never be too big. This is John Patrick Hickey encouraging you to be your best. Love God, have good manners, discover the unknown, and change your world. Hi, this is John Patrick Hickey again, inviting you to visit my website at www.johnpatrickhickey.com. There you'll have access to articles, blogs, success tools, and more. You can also get copies of my new book, On the Journey to Achievement, along with my other books. Stop by and visit us, won't you?